This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Tech, show number 132, recorded on August 22nd, 2013. Here on Home Tech, we cover all your favorite tech gadgets that find their way into your home, news, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the Average Tech Guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in Bellevue, Nebraska. And, of course, we post the show with world-class show notes each week out at theaverageguy.tv. If you have questions or comments or even contributions, you can contact me. Just send me an email, and many of you are doing that these days. I do appreciate that. Podcast at theaverageguy.tv. In fact, I have one that I need to read later. I'll have to remind myself to get that brought up. You can find me on Twitter at jcollison or follow the show schedule on Twitter at The Average Guy. And, of course, during the live show, you can join us for live chat over at theaverageguy.tv live. Right below the live stream window, we also have a, actually now on that averageguy.tv live, it's both kind of medium and low bandwidth streaming. It'll automatically adjust if you're coming in on your iPhone or Android device or tablet or iPad or any of those kinds of devices. It'll switch for you. Give it a try out, The Average Guy. .tv live. Of course, some of those devices won't support chat, so you only get the video but not the chat. But give it a try. It's better. We had Mike Fauché listening to the show on his way home on his car the other night. We're great, and so give that a try. If you want the high bandwidth version, if you just go to theaverageguy.tv/live, upper right-hand corner, click on the box that says YouTube high bandwidth, and you can get that over there as well. And welcome the one YouTube viewer that's got us over there at this point. We usually get a few over there by the end of the night, and so thanks for watching. All right, we've got a great show. We say we're kicking it old school tonight, and that just means we're going back to kind of a more open format. I told the guys that the chat was, or that the topics were open, whatever they wanted to cover. And believe it or not, Christian's Corner is coming back. Christian, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. Getting ready to ship back out to DC. It's been a short jaunt up to Buffalo. Well, I guess shuffling up to Buffalo doesn't really count because now I'm shuffling away from Buffalo. But in any case,
you weren't there very long.
No, but good to be back. Got a ton accomplished in the time that I was back here, which is good, and looking forward to some crazy cool stuff in DC.
Yeah, and you got the website fixed today. Thank you for getting that taken care of. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I ended up having I just spent most of the day, instead of working on things I was supposed to be working on, I tore all the VPSs apart, did all the updates, all the security patches, flushed all the caches, did all the turbo performance monitoring, got Verpus to fix their latency issues, so we're in a top shape for that, which is good.
Good to go. So, yeah, a little bit of interruption today, so it's August 22nd. If you were trying to get to the site this morning, Christian and I were going back and forth. It was all Christian, none of me. I was just complaining that things weren't working, and so Christian took care of me this morning. We got it back up and running, so the AverageGuy.tv live is working for you. So Christian, thank you.
Yep.
All the way over to the right, of course, he's joined us many times, and he's over at JPEG to Raw and all things surviving cancer. Mike Howard, how are you?
Doing good. We came back this past Tuesday for a show. We had a couple weeks off, and now we have a stint of a number of guests coming up, and we had a great show Tuesday despite being banned on YouTube minutes before the show started.
Yeah, you can't, I guess you can't play music through Hangouts or YouTube Live.
So I'm used to starting the show just like you do. I have pre-show music, and did that. I was so excited to do my first live stream through YouTube, which is a little bit different than Hangouts on air. Do that, and as I'm doing that, I get banned. 7-day ban. So what that works out to is that I won't be able to do next week either on YouTube, so we'll have to do it the old school. But it's good to be back and have the show going, and it was an exciting show.
Yeah, well, it's good, and you're looking great. We can hardly tell that surgery even happened to you in any way. I know it's
over here, so if I turn a little bit too far this way, you might get a glimmer of it, but the hair is starting to come back, so it helped hide some of it.
No, looking good. So it's always good to have you on, and glad that you're recovering nicely. For that, you did mention, we had you and I had a short stint, short talk right before the show, and we were talking about your being banned from YouTube, and I got to tell the listeners, if you listen live, so if you come out and listen to us live, I think this will probably be the last week we do live music. It is illegal in the United States to do what we were doing, and it's punishable. I think it's like $100,000 an instance or something like that. And I just kind of thought, well, okay, you know what? We don't really need the average guy getting taken down by the music industry. You know, live stream doesn't stop us, but YouTube has some algorithms that do, and we should probably be straight up and not do that kind of stuff. So from here on out, if you join early, I'll be singing live songs that I'm making up. Andrew, how are you? Are you sure you want to listen, Andrew? How are you?
Oh, look, I just won't come in singing anything from, Pink or something like that.
Well, maybe you and me. You could come on a few minutes early, and you and me in a duet could do some singing for the audience.
It's all about the money, money, money.
Oh, we just got banned.
We don't need your money, money, money.
Nice. Well, no, there will be none of that before the show, but we'll jump in 10 or 15 or 20 minutes early and some banter. But the era of live music is coming to a close, and it's probably the right thing to do. And we don't have the broadcast.
By death, isn't it?
Well, or a lot of money. One of the two. A lot of money.
So you're basically saying that the show doesn't make $100,000 a show.
Well, pretty close, but I don't want to give that away.
Right. I mean, all that hard work, you don't want to give that away.
Yeah. So
we're doing the same thing. We're going to have to stop it because I guess we've been fortunate enough not to get caught so far. We didn't mean anything by it. We're not making any money from it. But before we have to pay out money we didn't make.
Yeah, and we stream it through live stream, and technically, right, when we're done with the show, I delete that off live stream servers, so the music is never ever there, right? It's never recorded anywhere, and I kind of thought, okay, it was kind of that gray area justification that we do in technology, and kind of say, oh, it's kind of okay. Well, no, it's not. And so it's, even though it's nowhere, I don't even come close to ever putting it on YouTube. I had a song playing off the TV one time, and they could hear it, and they banned that. They didn't ban it. They just put a flag up, said you can't do monetization if you're going to put this video out there. So it's one of those rules that you don't like. Now we could have Christian play some violin for us.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is actually true.
Yeah, all that music would have long been out of copyright.
Well, if he's playing it, it's his music.
Hey, wait a minute.
Christian and I could do an international duet.
Yes, and not only that, but I am known for doing modern day music renditions and arrangements on the violin on demand, on request. So
look out, Nigel Kennedy.
We could, as long as you can provide me with a YouTube video that has the music that you want me to play, I will come up with an on-demand composition for you.
So say you play something new, right? In the last couple of years, well, Lady Gaga song or whatever. So say you play that. Is reproducing someone else?
Though, Jim.
Say that again.
That isn't music.
Okay.
That wouldn't be subject to this legislation.
Well, just to say it is for a second. Can we play that, Christian? And could you play it? And that's okay.
Just like how anyone can go on YouTube and play whatever they want.
Okay. All right. So we can have you playing "Sweet Child of Mine."
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Next week.
The only thing I wonder there, Jim, is they have just algorithms. They don't have a human doing this. Right. So if they hear that music, they may still flag it. And
I don't think they do.
No, they don't do it with. They don't actually quote unquote hear it. What they're watching for is for the metadata when streams start and stop and play songs. It's just pulling in metadata and seeing, oh, copyright, oh, this company, oh, you're done.
So all I need to do is strip out the metadata, then I'm good.
Well,
no, Christian, it'll find it. They've got something that'll find it in midstream, because I've played it without putting any music anywhere. I mean, it was just playing in the background quietly. Andrew, do not get us banned on YouTube.
Oh, they might be using that. You know how there's that technology for what's the name of that mobile app where you hold it up to your radio and see what song it is? Yeah, something like that.
They're using something, and they can find that music easy. Yeah. I mean, super easy. And I'm a little concerned about what Andrew's doing in the background. He's got a shit-eating smirk on his face.
No, I'm trying to rebuild a 2011
okay, all right.
And it's giving me the
It gives him great joy.
We thought you were getting music.
That's what I thought too. I thought, oh man, he's going to get me banned for sure on YouTube.
No. You just think I'm horrible.
One question before we get off the subject and move on to something else is, how does somebody like Geek Beat with Callie Lewis, they play clips from TV, from movies, they play songs. You can't possibly be getting the okay from all those copyright holders.
Well, they may have purchased. Yeah, they've probably purchased the licensing, right? So
Okay.
all music is here's what I learned tonight. So in the United States anyways, music is covered by 3 different licensing organizations. And almost all musicians that publish and copyright music here in the United States um, are belong to one of those 3. So radio stations and people that do this, Andrew, we're getting a lot of noise from
Yeah,
you.
I'm just about to mute.
Okay, good, thanks. Those musicians all subscribe or whatever they do, whatever you call that. Christian, you might know the term, but they are belong to those groups. So most stations buy one of those or all 3 of those licenses just to make sure that they're covered by them all. It depends on there's an educational license that you can buy. There's a media license that you can buy. There's a radio station license you can buy. So it's all different based on what
Okay.
you're going to be using it for. So I bet, the church ran into this problem here. Any church that wanted to play music, right, and had, especially that wanted to play it, there were a lot of musicians were like, hey, you can't do that. And so they created CCLI, which is I think the Christian Licensing and something organization. And so all these religious organizations pay into this fund, and then they do reporting, and then those musicians get money back for their work that they've done when those churches do that. So it's a really good way, because otherwise artists starve. They really do. I mean, we just take money from them. We just play whatever we want. We don't pay them. We don't want to pay them anything. So it's good that somebody's looking out for the musicians.
It's sort of like if somebody uses your term "hangoutosaurus."
And it comes full circle.
In Australia, right, there's a body called the Australasian Performing Rights Association, and you can buy, like if you have a radio, retail store, you actually have to buy a license or a subscription to them, so you can play even free-to-air radio.
Yeah, even public radio. Yeah. Well, here in the United States, you can't publicly display a movie. Like you can't, couldn't go, you couldn't go to a high school and put a movie on unless that high school has the right license to be able to do that. So it's and you certainly can't charge for it. That's they go sideways if you start charging for that stuff. So playing it free, that always used to be okay. That's getting to be a little more sticky. Charging for it's has always been verboten, at least here in the United States. So yes, there are some Creative Commons licenses as well that verboten.
Verboten.
Do best verboten. So anyways, so no more pre-show music at this point. I think I'm gonna take my coward's advice. We'll back down. If you have any suggestions for me, any free sources, or know any more about that, or want to give me any counsel on that, podcast at theaverageguy.tv. Send us a note there. I would love to dialogue around it. Maybe there's a way around it or a legal way to get it done. And
what about using someone like IOTA Promonet, who are all about promoting the indie artist and people like that? So it's music that's not subject to any form of copyright or anything like that.
I don't know.
Oh, that's true. There are sites like that.
Yeah, I know there's a couple of guys who run a podcast network out here, James Williams, I know we've spoken about James in the past, and he they use their music fairly extensively, and I think it's a free subscription service, but you can stream from them as well.
Yeah, Lopta says high school may be able to play a movie or excerpts thereof under an academic fair use license. So there may be some. It's so crazy here in the U.S. All the licensing stuff that you have to do to get it done. There's I think Free Music Archive or freemusic.org, or I'd have to double check it. It's actually music that we use for the podcasts, and they have a variety of Creative Commons license. That's kind of the number one question I get when people ask me about starting a podcast is where do you get the music from? And what you want to look for is, of course, first and foremost, royalty-free music, which just means that you can play that and not the artist has allowed that to be out there and not get paid on every single time it's played. Now, some of those artists put those up for sale, so you can buy. In this one case, I think it was Music Bakery or something like that, $49 a track to pick up the track, but then you could play it as many times as you wanted in your podcast. And then they even made a full version, a 30-second, a 60-second, 30-second, and 15-second version of it, which meant I didn't have to go in there and hack it up. Sometimes we hack up music to get just the piece that we want. And so you could purchase that royalty free. I've gone to sites where the music is free, and it's royalty free. And you know what I always do? I always notify the musician on those sites. You know, they're good enough to put that stuff up there. I always notify the musician and say, hey, I'm using your music for podcasts. And every single time, and I have a bunch of tracks that I've done that with between all the different podcasts that I've done, they always come back and say, hey, I appreciate you letting me know. Thanks for doing it. And they even come and listen to the podcast. So it's a great way to pick up another listener. If you're short on listeners and you've got a podcast, use music from those kinds of musicians, and you might just gain a listener. So not a bad way to do it. There are a lot of legal ways to do it. And in the case of home tech, we actually had Brian Burgess record. We mentioned this on show 100. We actually had Brian Burgess record. I had him just record the intro and the exit track for me. It's just a riff that he did, and he released that to me and lets me use it. And so we just had a local guy record it. So if you have a local musician, we for the longest time tried to get Christian to actually write music for Christian's Corner, which never happened.
It just didn't work.
We just wanted him to sing. Come on, let's face it.
He sings plenty. He has sung on the show plenty, but not and whistled.
Yes, whistling is my favorite.
He's a whistler. Well, let's get right to it. Enough on that.
As long as he doesn't start playing with spoons, it's okay.
That is all good stuff to know, especially when you're dealing. If you're doing podcasts, that music can be a real, you can really get tripped up if you use somebody else's music, embed that in your podcast, and then they come back after you. So,
or if you have a website where you put the music, some music on your website too.
Yeah,
a lot of people do that.
Right. Yeah, you got to be very, very careful on that. So,
it's actually pretty sad that our societies have become so litigious, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's worse. I don't know about Australia, but it's terrible here in the United States.
Look, we find that we're subject to a lot of the legislative nonsense that comes out of the States as well. So, we've got the same issues around performing arts and playing people's content and stuff like that. So, yeah, you guys aren't the only ones who are getting screwed.
Yeah.
You're not the only ones getting screwed by it. Yeah.
Well, but you got to take the artists' side of it, right? They're creating this content, and then we're just ripping it off sometimes, and they should get paid for some of that stuff.
Yeah, but a lot of the music that you're playing in particular, you look at, stuff from the 80s, it's probably borderline Creative Commons now, and the amount of money that those artists will have made off royalty by now is going to be pretty big.
So sort of like, think about it like this. If you go out there and create some new drug, and you spend maybe hundreds of millions of dollars developing that new drug, and then you only have, a 15-year or 14-year, how long of a patent do you have on it before other people can just copy that stuff and create it?
Before it goes generic, yeah.
To me, if someone has invested, and it's not just someone, there's a lot of people who work on a project like that. So you invested tens of millions or maybe even hundreds of millions developing something, and then you lose all rights to it after a certain amount of time. I don't know how someone who maybe spent a month or 6 months or whatever it is writing a song and then playing it should have a longer life to that than someone who invested that kind of money.
And saves lives as a result.
Yeah, so either you give everybody indefinite control, or you give them something similar.
Yeah. Mike, but let me ask Christian a question. Christian, how long have you been playing the violin?
14 years now.
So, Mike, you have to take in consideration that this musician has prepared himself for that moment.
Hold on a second. Yeah. The person who invented the wonder drug, let's say whatever drug, you name it,
right.
They didn't just wake up one day and invent it.
Yeah.
They went to years of school, years of training, and maybe even years and years of work to produce this drug. So I think that there's a lot of similarities between the artist who spent a long time in his life developing his artistic skill, and the person who develops, or the company who develops a drug. And in many cases, the drug took more development time than the song.
Yeah, maybe so. And I think the copyright's longer on music than it is on drugs, but it's well. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that tangent. It is nowhere in the show notes, but I said we're
You said we're going old school, and
I said we are kicking it old school tonight, which means we get to talk about whatever we want. No topic, although we do have a laundry list of show notes. And so welcome to the Home Tech Podcast, kicking it old school. And we will jump right to it. I did, let's just dig into the notes a little bit. I want to see if I need to cover anything before I go. I should mention real quick, Drive Pop. They are sponsoring my trip to the Home Server Show meetup. So if this is sometime after September 21st, 2013, you can skip ahead a minute. But on September 21st, 2013, Christian, is that at your house? It's got to be Gary.
It's actually the other side of the family this time.
They were coming in to check you out. She opened the door, and then, oh my gosh, he's doing a podcast, and they shut it.
I tried to go for the mute routine, but
No, it's okay. It's all good. Well, Drive Pop sponsoring my trip out to Indianapolis. We've got about 63, I think was the last check. Folks, joining us. Mike Howard, you will be out there as well. And we're getting together in Indianapolis. There's still room to do it if you go out to homeservershow.com and check on the link for the meetup. There's some information out there. We want to thank Drive Pop for the sponsorship of my travels out to Indianapolis. So thanks, Drive Pop, at drivepop.com for doing that as well. All right.
If they'd like to sponsor me to go there from Australia too, I'd be more than appreciative.
Yeah, I bet you would be.
Yeah,
well, I'll put that request in. One update real quick. I've been talking about the Chromecast. I got a note from Amazon. I think it's going to be here tomorrow or Monday. So yeah, it's on its way. They have not known when these things are coming and when these things are going. So it's I'm hoping to pick it up tomorrow and mess with it over the weekend. And so the Chromecast is on its way. I know Dave, it's old school. He's probably already sold it at this point, but we're going to actually try and make that thing work, and that is coming up. Stay tuned to the end. I got a bunch of updates at the very end. We'll leave those for that, but so hang around and get to the very end. Okay, let's see. What will we cover first? Let's talk about I'll talk a little bit about Yahoo first, because they've kind of come up in the news a couple times recently. I have I just recently heard, I was checking out a CNET article that talked about Yahoo making a special run at personalities like Katie Couric and some of those other folks. Of course, Marissa Meyer is behind what's going on at Yahoo right now. Guys, I counted Yahoo for dead just as little as 2 or a year ago. I counted them for dead. I noticed on my Android phone the other day, I was using Outlook.com, and my Yahoo email, so I apologize if you'd sent me an email, I didn't get back to you right away. It was because Yahoo broke the connection between Outlook.com and the Yahoo email service. They as part of their premium service now, you can't go in and pull that mail right into Outlook.com, which was really great because I had Yahoo and I had Gmail and I had everything else coming all into Outlook.com, and I missed about a week of email. I was wondering, why am I not getting any Yahoo mail? That was kind of weird. And they broke that connection. It forced me to go back to Yahoo, and they are making major changes on all their sites. And just recently, in the last month, #1 site on the web for folks going out and viewing it. Did anybody see? I mean, it seems like maybe Yahoo's coming back. They've got a lot of properties. You know what? I'm going to predict that in this group, you guys don't care, but obviously there are hundreds of thousands of millions of people going back to Yahoo. Does that seem kind of odd?
Is it just Yahoo?
Is that a Google product?
Yahoo? Oh, is that a Google? Nice. Mike?
Now, when you say they're #1 on the web, is it all of their services combined or just Yahoo.com?
No, it's all the Yahoo properties. So Yahoo and Flickr and Tumblr and actually in this last report, Tumblr was actually broken out.
Okay.
So it's just Yahoo, all their various services that exist. But Google was the same way. It was Google and all their services rolled up into one.
Including YouTube?
Yeah.
Wow. I would tell you that the one area that on Yahoo that does affect my group as photographers is Flickr, and they have made a really big change over on Flickr, and it's much nicer than it was before. I'm a little shocked that if you include YouTube and all that other stuff, where YouTube is adding, good God, crazy amount of video every single day, that Yahoo can come anywhere close. What is
I don't have
who goes to Yahoo.com anymore.
That's my point, is that it's like, well, of course they are #1 in mail, right? I mean, they have the #1. They smoke Gmail when it comes to it. They are the #1, I believe, or if not #1, #2 behind Hotmail, which is all the Microsoft stuff. So they have tons of traffic. I could be wrong on the number one, number two, but they generate a ton of mail.
And I think that is somewhat though. I'd love to see the mail broken out, because I think mail is something of just a habit. I have mail on my computer or wherever it is, and you're not actively trying to change it, so you just continue to use it. So it's not necessarily a choice that you've made. You made it long ago, but you're not making it today, this month. So it'd be interesting to see some of that breakout email from that, because have people made a choice to go back to and use more Yahoo stuff. Now they must have for them to move up in the rankings, but I wonder what's driving it.
This is a ZDNet article that's out, and it says the world's top websites, Yahoo number one, and China's moving up. So every now and then I click out. Every now and then I check out some web stats, because they become a good indicator of current trends. Tonight I went out and decided to see who the world's biggest websites are. Here are the current top 10 in terms of traffic. Number one, Yahoo. Number two, Microsoft Network, all the Microsoft stuff. 3 is Google. 4, Yahoo Japan. So that's broken out into a separate domain. And then Baidu, I don't know what that is. Baidu. Sina, S-I-N-A, those must be Chinese. eBay, number 7. Passport.net. That's crazy, is number 8. Sohu, SOHU.com, and then 163.com.
Who?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And this is from Alexis, A-L-E-X-A?
Yep.
That's who that comes from. So
I think that Baidu's a Chinese site.
Baidu, is that how you pronounce it? Baidu?
Baidu, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's Chinese.
Chinese?
Yeah, which would make sense why they're so far up the list, right? Because you look at the population size.
The explosion of the internet in China.
Yeah.
China, of course, yeah.
I'm still shocked by that, because I don't know what it is that Yahoo's doing that would drive anybody there. Yeah, I'm looking at another thing. It says the top social sites, and now Google's moved into number 2. So it's Facebook number 1 with almost 700 million, Google with number 2 at 340 plus million, and Twitter at number 3 at 288 million.
These are social networking numbers?
These are social networking things with active users, so not like registered users, active users.
Right.
So Yahoo for email, Google. Yeah, I don't use Yahoo. I have a Flickr account, and that's really the only thing I use Yahoo for.
Yeah, well, no doubt that it's a little bit of a shocker that, when you think about that, it's one of those things you don't think Yahoo, but in sheer numbers, they are pulling people in. So, again, not for us necessarily. We're not using that. But if you go out to Yahoo, they are actually now just full of content and very pop content, right? I mean, they have kind of become the People magazine of the web, from the sense of all the pop culture that goes through their site. Lots of articles to click on, lots of things to see. They are really driving content at their site. So it's interesting to see if that will make a difference in the consumers. I mean, obviously, they're getting some traffic right now, so they're getting very powerful. I think they're still relying on Bing for their search at this point. They made a deal with Microsoft in the dark years of Yahoo, when actually Microsoft was going to buy Yahoo. Could you imagine if that merger had gone through and you added the number 1 and the number 2 right now?
Yeah.
Together?
They could have effectively not done anything with those both spots.
They could have effectively done nothing with the top spots.
So let's step back. I wonder what Yahoo's financial performance is. If they've moved into number 1 and still can't make money, you gotta wonder.
Yeah.
What on earth are they doing?
Being popular is one thing. Monetizing popularity is something completely different. So that's definitely, and some of the stuff that we do for Gallup, we generate a lot of traffic. It doesn't necessarily generate a lot of revenue. So
I'm pretty sure Yahoo, though, has been getting a lot more revenue under the Marissa Mayer regime. I saw numbers somewhere not too long ago that were in the billions. I mean, they're doing well, and they've had incredible bounce back under her leadership. So I don't really know if mail is the primary source of revenue. I think advertising in general, they probably think of advertising in a much larger sense than just a particular application. So
Yeah.
Well, I think that her coming in and shaking things up is exactly what was needed.
it had to be, yeah.
Obviously, if what is the definition of insanity? Continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and that's basically what they were doing. They weren't really making any changes, or they're making tweaks. And she definitely came in and shook things up, and that's what you're going to have to do. I think it's too early to say whether what she did was going to be successful. A lot of times you come in as a new CEO in charge, and you can look good for a while because you blame all the mistakes on somebody else and take credit for everything that's good. So it may take a couple of years before we really find out if she's moving them in the right direction.
But you haven't heard that from them. You haven't heard that from her, this blame game. She was like, all right, guys, things are messed up. Let's fix them, and has just gone after it. So and she had a baby in the midst of it too, which is just incredible. Well,
you don't come out always directly and say those things.
Yeah. No, right on. So fairly interesting. I heard that the other day, and I thought fairly interesting breakthrough here, at least at this point. It doesn't seem. I was looking their first quarter numbers of 2013. They were about 1.3 billion at the fourth quarter of 2012, about 1.12 billion in the first quarter of the year. So doesn't seem like we're seeing a shoot up where all of a sudden that they're that their revenue is one division at Microsoft. They're the Windows division or the Office division makes more than that by itself. Just to kind of put that in some perspective. But it's certainly they are what I thought was going to be dead and dying. I mean, they were kind of the laughing stock of Silicon Valley for the last couple of years. Everybody was like, they're dead, and now they're kind of coming back. So, be interesting to see where they go and if they can monetize it for sure.
Yeah.
All right, hey, let's jump right into Christian's Corner. We haven't done this in a while, and Christian, I want to head over to you. I know you've got a new site, or at least a new idea around an old site that you're trying out.
Yeah, so way back when I told you guys about, back in junior, senior year phases when I was keeping track of resumes and trying to get it out there and sending it to colleges and kind of putting together work portfolios, I put together this site called ChristianNet, which was basically I created logins for different people who needed access to that kind of career building information, sent it out, here it is, and that way it was all in a nice digital portfolio that they could kind of grab everything about me that they were looking for and make heads and tails of it. Since I've gone on to Maryland and have made some career changes and a lot of things have taken place since then, I was in the process of migrating. I only had a couple of Windows sites that were still coded with ASP.NET, and I had pretty much moved everything else over that I was using to the PHP MySQL platform on Verpus. And so this ChristianNet was one of the last sites that I had written in C#. So I said, all right, it's time to get this site over so I can close IX out. And so I kind of recoded it, but rather than just doing the same boring thing, I kind of added a public interface to it because I've been starting to get a lot of people who say, well, I want to follow you, I want to know what you're doing in Maryland, and I want to keep up with your work and how things are going and what you're doing in the field. And so the problem was I have my hands in so many different cookie jars spread out. I'm in the Tag podcast, I have my BIOS mod stuff. I mean, I'm in a lot of different communities. So I said, all right, I can take this page and kind of make it a front-facing blog that has some articles on big data, some kind of big ideas, then some things about what I'm doing specifically, and then I'll have a public interfacing portfolio where you can get the same kind of public info you would get on my LinkedIn and so on and so forth, and then it still has the private area where you can get the same stuff that was in the original site. So the redesign was pretty successful, actually. By redoing it under WordPress and changing the way I do my header tags and stuff, I've gotten the website to show much higher up in Google search results for when you type in the name Christian Johnson. So you got to remember there's like 1 million Christian Johnsons existing in the world, and they all have their own websites. And so my old site didn't really even hit on the Google map until you got down to like page 8 or 10. But this new launch has gotten it up to page 2, which is pretty respectable considering, Chris Johnson football, Christian Johnson, all sorts of other stuff. And that URL is christian-johnson.net. So I've been really trying to talk about big data. I've put up a couple articles there, sending it out to some to LinkedIn communities, and really just trying to engage people in discussion, and then where my brain kind of is when I'm out at Maryland, out in the workforce. And so I've started a couple Cedar articles, and started with a pretty clean template, and I don't really, not really interested in. I mean, if it does pick off and people like what I have to say, that's great. But if not, it's really just for me to kind of keep track of what the heck it is I'm doing, and so that when someone does really need to have a data dump of who I am and what I've been doing, they have public and private access to that. So it's been kind of a helpful vehicle for me to streamline not only the technical aspects of the digital assets I have, but also kind of my identity on the internet, which I always like to take care of. So
very cool. We put that site up if you're audio only, christian-johnson.net, and then
yes.
We put that site up as well on the video, and you can head over to theaverageguy.tv/YouTube if you want to watch the video. All right, Christian, let's talk about what's next on the list there.
Yeah, so one of the neat things that I stumbled upon this week is I've been in the process of deciding which computers I'm going to take to school with me, and so cleaning off data and getting stuff connected to our domain and whatnot. And I had just done some host header work in IIS on our domain controller that runs Windows Server Essentials and does the computer backup. And so I stumbled upon this. If you go to, so every home server since forever has, the public domain, either if it was home server version 1, then the remote web access.com version. And when you connect a client computer to your domain, or to your home server rather, you normally do it by typing in the name of the server and the host address and then /connect. And so I realized, I didn't realize, I stumbled upon it, but if you do that same thing with the public, with the remote website link that you would use if you're outside of your network, the connector will download to the computer, to the machine, and you can actually remotely connect a device to your home server. So what that means is you can join computers remotely to your domain. You can do backups from offsite locations. So it's really kind of ideal because all the tech that I bring with me outside will still be connected to our home network and still be able to do backups on home server, and still has that kind of off-site office access. So that's a cool thing that I think they've really fine-tuned in the 2012 edition. I want to say they might have done it in 2011. Not positive on that, but actually that doesn't make sense because 2011 doesn't have domains. But yeah, definitely 2012. It was really cool to be able to do, go, you can be wherever there's an internet connection and connect a PC to your home network, which was pretty cool.
Very cool. You said you had a fix for me on, because I was complaining just a few minutes ago that Yahoo broke the connection to Outlook.com, no longer allowing that direct SMTP connection in there.
Yeah, see, I thought you were just forwarding all your messages, so I didn't know if that was the case.
I could always forward them without any issues. And actually, honestly, and we're having a little debate in chat. Some of the guys are going out and looking at the live page, and it's working for some. The live stream page does rely on Flash, so that may be why you're not seeing it. I was able to get it working like on an iPad and some other things, so it's a little intriguing why it's not. But anyways, I appreciate you guys testing it for me. I'll be back out there in just a second. Christian, when it broke the connection from Yahoo to Outlook.com, it was actually better. My email was getting so jammed. I have so many accounts, and there was so much email coming in. Yahoo is my main account that I use all the time. It's the address I give to every single, it's the address I give to every single everything I sign up for, right? My Yahoo address. And so it just gets spammed. And I'll get a couple hundred emails a day through that thing. And that was kind of jamming up my Outlook.com a little bit. Wasn't getting everything. And so it actually worked better for me just to go, now today I log in Outlook.com and get my live email and some of the Gmail that I have. And then I go to Yahoo to get my regular mail. And it's actually, I'm managing my email a little bit better than I was before. It just kind of gives me another level of granularity that I wasn't getting when I was trying to do it in Outlook.com. So that's been my workaround for it. That has worked, or at least that's working. It's been a couple weeks now, and it seems to me I'm doing better with my email. Now we all get way too much email, so it's I don't know what to do about that. I just get a ton of it, and but it did seem to get better when I just went to Yahoo Direct. So that's what I've been doing, and I don't know. Maybe you got a better way. I was trying to consolidate everything down into one. One site to go to. I don't know, Mike Howard, what do you, with all the email that you have to handle, I assume you have different accounts all over the place. How do you manage all that email?
I use Outlook on my computer, and I have a lot of different email accounts. A lot. I probably have 5 main ones, and I just have them all coming into Outlook. I got to make sure when I go to send something that I send it from the right place, because I've messed that up before.
Yeah.
And then I have rules set up for filtering some of that stuff, and I use all kind of. The one thing I like about Outlook is I can create all kind of folders underneath. It's basically like regular file folders that you're creating. That is much more easy for me to organize my emails than something online. That's one of the things I don't like about Gmail, as I don't feel the organization is quite as good. I hate the way they stack the email thread into one email. That's sometimes I get confused on where's the newest part of this email.
Yeah.
But
now, Outlook.com for Gmail. So I don't ever use the Gmail interface because I'm with you. Yeah. I hate the Gmail interface. It's horrific for me.
Yes.
So I actually suck all that into Outlook.com, and that is a great way, I think, a great way to manage Gmail. Yahoo does a nice job. Their interface is nice and it works well, so I don't have any trouble there.
I have Gmail is one of the accounts that I get into Outlook, and I'm doing the regular Outlook, the one on the PC, not online. So I have that for work and for home. So what I do with both of those is I don't have either one of them deleted off the server, so I can actually get it at both places. And I don't generally have a problem with. Have I seen that before? Have I not seen that before? I'm able to keep up with that. And then, of course, my the email for the show is using my own URL, but all that's still in Outlook.
Christian, with all the email accounts that you have, well, Tony in chat was saying he just copies the important stuff into Evernote and just deletes the rest. I guess that's one way of getting it done. And I haven't really got caught on to Evernote, but Christian, I assume you got a ton of email too. How are you managing all of it?
Just use Outlook 2010 to all my devices, and then I have like 12 different email accounts I have to check. So it's really, I never use webmail. I always go through Outlook software. And we all have, I use Exchange at work, so Exchange server is extremely, extremely nice to have going. So.
All right, Andrew, how do you manage your email?
At work, I live in Outlook. I think at the moment we've got 2 gig mailboxes, so fairly reasonable size. At home, I use the Gmail interface. So I've got 3 or 4 domains, all of which are on Gmail, and I think you get used to it. The more you use it, it's like anything, if you immerse yourself in it and commit to it, then you get to the point where you actually get the maximal, or you maximize the benefit. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. I just don't like it.
Horses for courses, right?
No, Gmail. Did you say Gmail or Outlook, Andrew?
I use Gmail.
Gmail, and you said you got to use it to get.
Yeah, I used to use Outlook with an IMAP connection to Gmail, but that gets bandwidth intensive, so I've stopped doing that.
Yeah, I like Outlook, Mike. I'm with you. I like it. I use it at work. It's all my work email. I just don't like the constant. Every time I had to move something or refresh a PC, or there was a while there I was killing my PC all the time, and then in the old days of Outlook, these gigantic PSTs and I
What do
said,
you mean the old days? I have a gigantic PST.
Yeah.
see, I can't do that. I just cannot. That doesn't work. I don't want to.
I would tell you, so at work, most of the office or all of the office uses Outlook, and we don't have an Exchange server. So that's one of the issues we have in our office is we have all these PST files all over the building that you can't really back up effectively.
Yeah.
Because you can't do only the changes. You have to back up the entire file. So the reality is we're not backing up all those emails on everybody's computer. Somebody earlier was saying something about they were having trouble streaming. I'm streaming from the phone show right now.
Look at that.
So I went to the second page that you have, the live page on.
You went to the YouTube live page.
Yeah, and it's streaming from there just fine on the phone.
Upper right hand corner it says YouTube, high bandwidth.
Yeah.
Try that one, guys. Okay, Mike Howard, thank you for validating. It was working. If you go, the live stream should work too. It is flash based, so it would, I guess you would have to. What would that stream on in a low bandwidth? It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for trying, guys, out there to do that. It's always good. I like to, see if the YouTube is fairly universal, and so if you're in an area where you can get pretty good Wi-Fi, you should be able to watch that fairly effectively.
Somebody said back up your email for free out there.
Tony.
I don't know how you would do so if you have a multi-gigabyte PST file. I don't know how you're going to back, and it's changing constantly. I don't know how you can't do a partial backup of that thing.
Well, we went as far at Gallup as we kind of banned PST files a couple years back and made everybody, so we have the advantage, we're about a 900 person organization, so you can go in there and for folks that use email, maybe even less than that, maybe 600 or 700, and we could get to the people who had the large ones and help them import the PST into Exchange. So it was all in there. Now you don't have an Exchange, so you don't even have that option. And we're always on the most current version of Exchange, which is great. So we've taken advantage of a lot of the features that are out there. So we pulled everybody's in, and then we had an archiving solution that we got rid of as well. And we pulled all those emails in and made them a part of everybody's boxes. And then we started kind of closing down the walls on folks to say, coming down, Andrew, you said you guys have a 2 gig limit. We have a 1 gig limit. And so we began to close down those walls and say, hey, if it's really important, that data needs to be saved somewhere else. And we provided some SharePoint space for them to be able to take the data and move it. Because typically, the email itself, I guess it might have some data in it that you need, but then it probably shouldn't be, if it's important, it probably shouldn't be an email. It should probably be in a document somewhere or something somewhere else confined. Because, Mike, you go and all your mail, something happens to you, and all your mail is locked up inside your account, right?
True. Do you guys have like an auto purge feature or something?
Yeah, we do now. So we go 90 days. And
90 days.
90 days is all you have. You move it or you lose it. And we
what do you move it to?
Well, we have client folders. So we have an associate has a folder that doesn't have those restrictions on it. And that their email box plus that non-timed section is limited to 1 gig.
Okay.
And their inbox is limited to 90 days. So you constantly have this churning, because what we were finding is people were just had junk in their inbox, right?
I have like 15,000 emails in my inbox.
It's just junk. I mean, most of it probably is junk for the most part.
But why does that matter?
Because it all has to be stored somewhere. It all has to be stored, and 2, you don't want it around for legal purpose. That's
what I was thinking about legal. So I know that legal gets involved in that kind of stuff, but there's many times I go back and say, want to go back to something that's 2 years old or more.
Yeah, so move
pull it out. But I would be moving everything, because when I go to search for that. When I go to search for that, I didn't realize that was something I would.
Yeah.
If at the moment when I got that email, it wouldn't have been something I thought, man, I better keep this.
Yeah, well, that has worked. We've been on that a year and a half now, and that has actually worked really. Everyone's kind of figured out how to make that work for themselves by not hoarding data.
Speaking of email, so we had before we get off the subject, we have an email server there. We had a spam filter that was filtering out our spam, but we put Untangle just last month, almost exactly a month ago, in front of our email server, and it has blocked massive amount of emails in that 1 month. We've, by a factor of 10, increased the spam we're blocking. What was very interesting to look at is who were the people who were getting the most spam. So let's say the average guy over the month got 1,000 or maybe 500 spam messages. the top person had something in the range of almost 30,000 spam messages. So they were getting somewhere over 700 spam messages a day before we put this filter in, the untangle.
Yeah, so it's blocking it now.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have less spam in your organization. Lopta had said in chat he didn't know I made a statement about importing the PST into Exchange. That was not a direct import. It was those PSTs were brought into Outlook proper. They were imported into Outlook, into the current Outlook stuff, whatever that is. And I don't know all the technology behind it. And then it was once it was there locally, it's synced to Exchange, and then Exchange manages it from there on out. But we were having serious backup issues trying to get all that email. I mean, we had 10 years worth of stuff, and we had some data hoarders, and that just kind of limited some of that stuff down. Some exceptions were made, obviously, for some kinds of email and such, and so we did that as well. But it just kind of keeps it clean. 90 days kind of keeps the junk away, so to speak. And it's great for me. I love it. I just love it deleting. Go ahead, Andy.
Do you use an archiving service, something like Enterprise Vault or something like that, that keeps a copy in the cloud, or?
I don't know what we use for backup. I'm not that close to that group, so I only see it from the outside. We did have a vault at one point in time for archiving internally, and we decided to do away with that as well and keep it. I'm sure there's some things. I can't tell you what we do for the archiving or backup.
Because I know one of the things that we see a lot in our client space is that we'll implement a third-party perimeter message scanning, something like Message Labs or Symantec have a comparable offering, and then they'll have when the mail's getting processed by that service, they'll then send a copy of everything to Enterprise Vault, which is Symantec's
cloud-based, yeah.
Yeah, it's a cloud-based archiving service, and so the Outlook client then gets a plugin so that if you miss a mail or they put a 42. I think at the moment my current client's got a 42-day retention period. So after 42 days, it gets deleted out of your inbox automatically, and then you get left with a stub of the email. So if you want to access it, when you double click on the email, it actually goes and makes a call out to the Symantec cloud and brings the mail back in.
But all that mail is still e-discovery. You can still, for legal purposes, you have a copy of every single thing that's out there.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And if you get subpoenaed, you've got to supply it all.
Yeah, exactly. And
unless you have a policy.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter who you are or how you try to work around it, you can't get rid of that copy in the cloud.
Right.
Yeah, so if people are sending you inappropriate emails or the like, there's just no way around it.
No, we just found for you just really in a lot of organizations, I just don't think it's necessarily the smartest idea, and it depends on your organization. So don't crucify me on that one, but. Mike, we find, or I see a lot of times, organizations have moved their email. Their email has become their workflow engine, right? And so, like you say, if that's how you run your business on email, then yeah, there might be things where you're gonna have to go back for 2 years to get because that record, the point of record, is in the email because it doesn't. That's the workflow system. It doesn't live in an e-business suite or in a JD Edwards or in a PeopleSoft. It's living in a spreadsheet in somebody's email, right?
Right. Well, and just today, I had to look up something from a year ago because, I went to create another document and I said, why do I need to recreate it? I think I emailed that to somebody last year. I couldn't find it wherever it was on the file server. So I just found that email and boom, there it is. I just, took what I created a year ago and updated it.
Yeah. Well, and Lopta says, that's how he gets work when he's out in the field. Well, sure. I mean, I use my Exchange, I use my Outlook as my daily workflow. It's my task list, right? I get emails in, and it kind of reminds me of things to do. And I have projects that span over that, and so, I move those. If there's emails I need to keep for longer than 90 days, I move those into folders you kind of get in that habit. I'll be honest with you, Mike, you're where you work today, you're not in that habit, but I guarantee you, if we started locking you down, you would remember what you needed and what you didn't. You'd be like, oh, this is probably going to be pretty important.
I would move everything.
I know you would. You'd also measure it with a temperature sensor. Hey, speaking of that temperature sensor, you need to pull that thing out real quick and show us. There you go. Oh, look at that.
It's definitely infrared.
Yeah, so I got this one using the Average Guy link, and
Which is theaverageguy.tv/Amazon.
I think I'm gonna have to buy another one, Jim, because if you saw that dot, and let's see if I can point it to my hand.
Yeah.
It's way too big. It's not
Okay.
precise enough. What I made a mistake and bought this one and it has a purpose, and I'll use it, but it's made for like shining around your window and your door frames and your outlets and that kind of stuff, and finding where you might have some leakages, where you need to add some insulation and something like that. So that's fine. But I wanted something where I can pinpoint right on top of something. So I'm gonna have to buy a second one. So I'm starting to understand why. Who was it last week or 2 weeks ago said they had 5 of them? I'm starting to see why you might
Schoonover.
Yeah, Schoonover. I don't know if I need 5, but I definitely need at least one more.
At least one more. You need the laser kind, right?
I want the
kind
pinpoint laser kind.
Laser.
And of course, my wife saw that. She goes, "What on earth are you going to use that for? And how much did it cost?" It wasn't that much. It was like $30. It's not bad.
It was $30 on Amazon.
I was watching a thread about those on a forum a couple of days ago. There's one you can get that has a sampling rate that samples something like 1,000 points within, that sort of space.
Yeah.
And I think off the top of my head it was 187,000 US.
Jeez.
Holy crap! What are you using it for?
It's military grade. I don't know what they use them
Yeah.
for, but
I want to blow stuff up. I'm going to spend that kind of money.
Yeah, you want a laser that cuts through metal and not a. Speaking of cutting through metal, no, that's a bad segue. Christian, you have the notes. HTPC setup with Haswell.
Yeah, so our AMD-based media center gave up the ghost after an electrical outage, and so the motherboard ended up completely kind of going toast, and we didn't really want to have to deal with the the power drain from the AMD stuff, so we bought a Intel i5 Haswell on a new Asus Maximus 6 Genie board, and it is so rocking. Super low power consumption. It's super fast. Media Center just pops up. You hit the power button on the TV, and it wakes the box out of sleep and brings up Media Center in like 3 seconds flat. The guide listing is really great. So we have really, going to Haswell, have gotten the box to be just like a set-top box at Verizon Files, except it's got Windows Media Center. It's got 12 terabytes of recorded TV storage locally connected to our network for backup. It's got our movies. It's got our TV shows. The picture quality looks fabulous, and it's just rocking and rolling.
Any heat problems at all?
No. Oh, no.
Really?
No, and the fans are silenter than a grave. On the old, it was the same set of case fans that we had, but the old motherboard didn't manage the fans right, and so this new motherboard CPU combo, it's super cool. The CPU runs at around 32C, which is frigid for a CPU, and like I said, it's running at 2.9 gigahertz, so it's a fast setup, and it just pops. I mean,
Now,
there's no way.
Mike Fauché complained about his Haswell setup. Memory was difficult to work with, and he said it was running the CPUs really hot. You have not had that. You've never had that experience, huh?
It's been golden.
Do me a favor, put the board and chip and memory in the show notes, if you would, if you can get a link to those, so folks could take a peek. I think there's been some real skepticism in the tech community around Haswell on the desktop. I think we're all convinced Haswell is going to be great on laptops, but there has been some real skepticism around Haswell on the desktop. And everything I've heard until you said you've had a great experience, everything I heard was skip Haswell for desktops. It's just all the tech guys are like, don't. It's not. It's going to be great on laptops. So interesting that you've had a different experience.
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely, spot on. It just everything comes up quick. It's cool. There was no configuration or problems, and we're just really pleased with it, actually. And Dad is thinking about updating his, doing a new desktop build with an i7 Haswell. And like I said, with the experience we had with Media Center, why not? It's really great. So.
Yeah. What kind of memory did you put in there? How much?
It just has 4 gigs. I mean, a media center doesn't really need that much memory.
Right.
So
G-Skill or what do you
yeah,
prefer?
we use
G-Skill?
G-Skill. Yeah,
Okay.
I got in my desktop media center. G-Skill
Okay.
does some solid work. I
Okay.
like that company. Yeah.
No issues, huh? Everything's working great?
No, like I said, exceeded expectations.
Wow. All right. Well, there's a Haswell success story for you. If you've had a Haswell story yet, love to, because again, everything I've heard is negative. It's good, Christian. It's good to hear from your side that that's working well. Um, if you've had a nightmare or a great experience, send me an email, podcast@theaverageguy.tv. We'll post that out there for folks to take a look at. Send us the specs of your Haswell stuff too if you decide to do that. As well, it would be kind of good to know. Guys, I've been contemplating, 8.1 is coming out here towards the end of October, and I think I'm ready to make the jump. I stayed on Windows 7 on my desktops, and I've been testing Windows 8.1 preview on some VM equipment, but I think I'm ready to make the jump to 8.1 when it comes out. I'll start with you, Mike. Have you gotten to that point yet? You going to stay 7, or are you going to make the jump to 8.1?
You on my main computers?
Yeah, on your PCs.
I'm probably gonna stay 7 for a while.
Okay.
I have our whole house DVR, what I call it. That one's running Windows 8. I'll update it to 8.1. My wife's computer's running 8. I'll update it to 8.1. I've come around and I like it. I like Windows 8 more, especially when I got the Start 8 menu in there. So I don't have the same aversion to it, but I see absolutely no use to the Metro screen on the desktop for me.
Yeah, not on the desktop.
Yeah,
you would boot, right? And when 8.1, you'll boot to desktop, right?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, and with Start 8, you can do the same thing, so you don't even have to wait for that. I should mention also that some of the software I use is not compatible with Windows 8. Like the Wirecast desktop presenter does not work on Windows 8 yet. So for the way we do our show, I couldn't update to Windows 8 until that thing is working. So
it's working on Windows 8. All right, good to know. Christian, any thoughts on your beast there? Is it going to go to 8.1, or are you going to stay a 7 guy?
Yeah, I think I'm going to keep this main desktop Windows 7 just because it's so mission critical. The desktop that I'm taking with me to Maryland, it's a quad-core Phenom that I have Windows 8.1 on, so I'll use that down there.
And then desktop, right?
Yeah, and then I also have my Asus EEE tablet, the 10, it's either 10 or 11 inch tablet with Windows 8.1 on it, which is pretty cool actually. So I'll have 8.1 boxes in Maryland. I'm gonna leave this desktop and set up as Windows 7 just because it runs rock solid, and I have everything tweaked perfect for workflow, and I haven't reformatted this OS since this was an OS I originally upgraded from Windows Vista, so it's been I've been building this operating system since early 2008, so I really can't afford to mess around with it just because I would lose so much custom configuration and capability.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably continue to use Windows 7 Enterprise on my work machine. So.
Okay. Andrew, what about you?
I'll go. I've got one machine running Windows 8, I think, which is my netbook, so that'll probably go to 8.1. It's coming out as just a hotfix, right?
Right.
Through Windows 8.
They're just going to push it out through the store.
Yeah. So look, when it gets pushed out, I'll grab it. I haven't made the move with my enterprise machine yet. Probably because I'm still on 7. I don't. I need the mobility of being able to get around the operating system quickly at the moment. And my personal experience with 8 is it takes a little bit longer to get to things, and I think the amount of time I'm going to lose trying to find things is going to offset the benefit of running it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. You know what's changed me though is I've done so much work with Server 2012, both the original preview that we demoed a year ago, all the way up now to the 2012 Essentials R2 preview, and that's all. That is all Windows 8 style, right? That's all Metro, the front screen.
Yep.
And maybe it saved me because I wasn't an old school server guy, so I just adopted it it's always been this way. And so it's kind of taught me how to get around to the tools in Windows 8 a lot faster. Isn't that weird to think that I learned to get around Windows 8 by being on Server 2012, so much.
Yeah, look, I think look, we're seeing in particularly in my space in the enterprise, we're not seeing a massively big adoption of Server 2012. We've got a few clients who are bleeding edge, but for the most part, I think a lot of them are still sitting there going, well, you know what, 2008's not broken yet. It's still got a good few years left before it goes end of life and stops support and whatnot, and we know that everything works on it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm hearing and reading is that Exchange 2013, 2012, whatever the Exchange is after 2010, that has some significant issues in it. If you're going to migrate to Server 2012, then it makes sense to take your Exchange environment up. The interface changes in SQL are significantly different as well.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that there's a lot of reluctance, particularly in my space, to
Sure.
to
That
go the upgrades, and that's across the board. We thought that whole Windows 8 2012 platform, the Me Too's are all doing it, but the people who actually need to not lose the time efficiencies aren't touching it yet.
We've converted a couple of our servers over to 2012, and most of the laptops we're buying now are either Yoga 13s or Yoga 11Ss. And for me, for work, I have both a Yoga 11S and a Yoga 13. And on a laptop, I like Windows 8 on there because I do use, the touch interface. It's nice when you're on a website and you can flick your finger and go back and do that kind of stuff and flick down. So there is a use case for it, but on none of our desktops at the office are running Windows 8, and there's no plans to do that.
Interesting. Well, it was funny because I was in one of our offices, and one of the guys who works on our Macs had a bunch of the laptop. And I said, hey, any of those got touch on them yet? He was like, no. And I'm like, hey, look, I pop open my laptop and I'm, flicking Windows 8, and I'm like, look at this. And you know what? It cost a third of what you have on the desk there. Yeah. I said, and it's lighter and it runs faster. What's the deal? I was baiting him, totally baiting him, right? I mean, but it was interesting. I do, Mike, like you mentioned. Yeah. I've got that Asus VivoBook, and which gets mentioned on. It's funny, as I was listening to BYOB, I get mentioned with that VivoBook all the time now. It's like that VivoBook that Jim and Mike talk about all the time. That's how that gets referenced constantly. Mike being Mike Martis. I like that VivoBook, and I like Windows 8 on it, and I love touch. So I'm really looking forward to 8.1 on that laptop. I think that's going to be a great. Looking forward. There's just some cool stuff coming with Windows 8.1 that I'm looking forward to getting. So, Mike,
Boot
real quick.
To desktop.
Yeah. Well,
start button.
Hitting the Windows key is not that difficult.
It isn't, but when you're screwing around with those little charm corners and nothing ever pops, and it's like I just want to click something. Like, come on, now.
It's not great with the mouse. Come on now. It's not. The touch interface is not great with the mouse.
Taking away the one animal of the computer, the mouse.
Mike Howard, we're going to come in for a landing here. Tell us, you've had the Nest thermostats now, and you've got 2 of them in your domicile there. You've had them going for, 3-4 weeks now at this point?
It's been a little bit more than a month, yeah.
Hold that up again.
Okay, so I don't know how well you can see that, but that's where I have both the thermostats where you can see them. Maybe I don't know how well you can see those.
No, that's good. We can see them.
The blue one actually is cooling right now. That's upstairs. The one that's darker. Well, now the screen just went away. Yep. The one that was darker means it's done. I mean, it cooled us down to where it needed to be, so it stopped. So I've had it for a little bit more than a month. I love seeing each day how much it's used, how much downstairs is used, how many hours it's run, how much upstairs is run. I've even had the guy come back from, and you can see this from any programmable thermostat, but seeing it online, I really can see during the day, how much it ran during this part of the day, for that part of the day. I can see exactly how much it ran. So I even had the AC guy come, because we got these installed with the new ACs. Had the AC guy come back, and I said, I don't think the thing's cooling right upstairs. So they made some adjustments to it. And now that I have my laser, I'm going to go around and find where all the leaks are and why, why upstairs is running so long. But I will say this, that one of the things that they stress a lot on, you go to their website and all this, the learning thermostat, all that kind of stuff. I didn't use any of that. I went into the web page and said, I want it to go to this temperature at this time. And I don't want it to auto learn and do all this kind of stuff where we're just moving around, because sometimes I might want it to go down. I want it to be cool when I'm going to bed, but then as I go to sleep, it can get a little bit warmer. Well, if I'm asleep, I can't walk out to the thermostat and turn it back, up, so it learns that. So I just set those things to say, come on here, go off there. So what I have it doing is, before we wake up, it starts to cool down a little bit. Once we all go to work, it lets it get up a little bit, and then before we come home, it cools back down a little bit again. And then at night as we're going to sleep, it runs for a little bit to cool down. You don't want to go too far outside of a range, or it takes too much effort to pull it back down to a certain temperature. But being able to set it exactly how I wanted was good. So I guess my point is, I'm not sure that I would say Nest is something you have to have, but I love having a Wi-Fi enabled thermostat, because I can tell from my phone, what's running. I can make adjustments from the phone, and being able to do that is just really nice.
Yeah, so the learning part isn't great for you in that sense, and maybe the routine isn't enough. I guess what would be really cool is if you program everything yourself, right? And so, say you program it for a time you think you're going to be there, and
there's
you're not.
It's a schedule on one of them.
Yeah, pretty easy. And can you do that? Yeah, does it have to be done by the hour, or can you break that down to the half hour or the minute? Or
by the minute if you want. I don't want to make that many changes, but you could.
No. Yeah. I'm just saying, so say you go on vacation and you forget to change your schedule and nobody's going to be in the house.
There's like the usage report.
Hold on, let me flip over there so we can see that.
I could also pull this on our web and do a share screen if you wanted.
Maybe in the post show we'll do that.
Okay. So then if you click on a day, and maybe we'll do this in a post show, you can see how much it ran during the day. I'll do that during the post show.
Yeah.
But go ahead with your question.
No, kind of right. No, I was just going to say, so when you're out, say you're out on vacation and you forget to change your schedule, you can just from the car or the airport or wherever, just hit that and then begin to change your schedule, right? To say, oh no, you know what? While we're gone, never let the house get above whatever, 80.
Well, and I've had to, at first I did that just because it was fun. I would say, hey, I called my wife from work. Did the air conditioning just come on? And she goes, yeah. And I said, I know, I just turned it on. So at first it was fun, but there was a practical use for it once, because it has this thing called auto away, which I turned off now too. So what it basically does, if it doesn't see somebody walk in front of the thermostat after a while, because every time you walk in front of it, it comes on so you can see it. If you have that set that way, I have it set that way. So my kids during the summer must have stayed upstairs playing on the computer all day long, and then the downstairs one never saw anybody walk by. So when I was checking my phone, I noticed, holy mackerel, downstairs is 80 degrees, and because it went on auto away. So I was able to go on there and turn auto away off, and then turn it back down so it would start cooling off again, off of my phone. And I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't a Wi-Fi enabled. I haven't had another Wi-Fi enabled one, so I don't know how it compares to others. But I know that I don't want to have another thermostat that's not Wi-Fi enabled, because even if you're not using it from the phone, the data I'm getting from the web, where I can see what part of the day it ran, is valuable for me too.
Just wait till the winter. I mean, you get your winter stats too. Yeah, I think that might be my next upgrade. In fact, I've got some tech cash coming. I was going to buy a chop saw. I think I'm going to get a Nest thermostat.
They are pretty cool.
So cheap. I'm so cheap. I probably won't buy it. It's Sarah will be like, "What are you doing? It's working fine, just the way it is. Just leave it alone. It works great for us." So who knows? But well, Mike, we'll stay around for those of you who are out here live. Stay around. Mike's going to dig in a little bit to his stats in the post show, and again, you can't get the post show unless you stay around for the live show. So join us out here Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern. We'd love to have you out. We've got a great chat room tonight. I appreciate you guys out there in chat this evening. Some good chat out there tonight, and so I appreciate you guys coming out and doing that. Let me do a few announcements just before we go, and then we'll jump into the post show. One, a quick update. Last week I told you I had just gotten the Icy Dock MB153SP-B. I just love saying that. They call it the Fat Cage. It is a 3-in-1, so it takes 3.5-inch hard drives in a two hard drive space, in a 2.5-inch space. So it jams those in. I started installing that this weekend, and man, that was a tight fit. It just, whatever in that Dell Precision Workstation, it just did not want to go in, and I had to do some really pushing and struggling and to get that thing in, and it's a tight fit in there. So if you're thinking about buying one like that, don't be surprised if it's a tight fit going in that true 2-drive cage. It was just in it, so it, once I got it in, I got it hooked up and running, got 3 drives in it, rated them up and put them in a RAID 5, and all was good, and that worked. I was going to do some testing, and so I have another IC Dock 1 drive bay that has a little LCD on the front, and I thought, oh, I got an extra, I got a RAID card that has the 4 cables, and so one cable was empty. So I plugged that thing into an empty bay, and I can't get the thing to boot up now at this point. So I don't know what I've done. I haven't had time to troubleshoot it. It was actually an IC Dock drive bay that Chris Lux had given me, and I've tested it. I know it works, but maybe that RAID with that RAID card having power to the drive, but the drive not being there, maybe that's a problem. So I need to grab a drive and put it in. Just need a little bit of time to test it out, but a cool little box. It was $65, and if you're looking to jam a bunch of drives into a small little space, not a bad way to go. Worked pretty well. I haven't tested it thoroughly, but I'm sure it works fine. That's the MB153SP-B. I'll put the link out there in the show notes as well. I mentioned in the beginning of the show the Chromecast is on its way, so we'll have some, and I'm really looking forward to doing this. I'm really kind of hoping at some point it'll replace the media center. So I'm going to give that a try and see how that works in our environment. So Dave, if you don't listen to the home server show, Dave's been talking about it the last couple shows, homeservershow.com. You can go ahead and take a sneak peek at it. We probably won't do a special show on it because it's kind of old news already at this point, but something to take a look at. $35 for a Chromecast. I'm going to give it a try. Mike, you ordered a couple?
I did, and I checked my stats. I checked my ordering. Actually, I got it still pulled up, and it says it hasn't shipped yet. You're getting yours tomorrow?
Mine shipped. Yeah, should be here in the next day or two.
Sucks.
But I had mine in a lot earlier than you, so.
Yeah, so what?
Sucker.
Google hates me.
They do. And that's because I sent them emails about you.
Yeah.
So that Chromecast is on its way. Just an update on the scholarship fund. I got another check from Amazon today. So we're starting this tech scholarship fund. If you want to test something, if there's a small product that you want to get your hands on and you want to test it and keep it, I'll pay for it if it's reasonably priced, and you write a couple articles for theaverageguy.tv. We'll ship it to you direct. You write a couple articles, maybe come even on the podcast and talk about it. You get to keep it. I think it's a pretty cool deal. We're calling it the Average Guy Tech Scholarship Fund. Just got a check today, so I got some more money. Pretty cool.
Awesome.
It only happens because you guys go to the Amazon website to make that happen. So go to theaverageguy.tv/Amazon. And if you purchase from Amazon while you're doing that, we make a little bit of money off of that. I turn that money back around into these kinds of giveaways. We found that just giving stuff away wasn't very effective. So we're now giving it away for your efforts. And so shop out there for us. You guys have been great actually doing that, and I appreciate you doing it. We turn that money around into things that you can test and try out. We should have, in a week or two, Zadler's, he's going to do Windows to Go on that Kensington flash drive. So we should be talking about that with John Zadler. And then Kyle Wilcox said he had gotten that Android-based media center in the mail. It came directly from China. It took 2 weeks. So this will be one of those odd, those odd ones that you're just not going to go to Amazon and buy this. So we'll have to see how this goes. But I thought an interesting idea, anyways, an Android-based media center type thing, and we'll give that a shot. Speaking of media center, Tim Black is not out there tonight.
He's not.
Tim, where'd you go? That's weird. We got Rennie, all the regulars are out there, but no Tim Black tonight. Maybe he's on vacation. All right, I want to remind you also 125 days to Christmas. I'm just saying.
Wow.
125
Thanks
days.
for that.
100. In case you were wondering, 125 days till Christmas. Go out and start just a reminder, go out and start your Amazon wish lists now. Great way to keep track. Start a list as you see stuff on Amazon, pop that in, and when you do that, of course, use our link, theaverageguy.tv/Amazon, or amazon.theaverageguy.tv. That one also works. And you can help us out. So, all right, let's see. Let me land this bad boy. Let's go back to these notes here. All right, all the reminders. I usually have a long speech. I'm not going to do it. Look, subscribe to the podcast. Figure that out. We had a whole show on podcasting last week. All the links are over at theaverageguy.tv. iTunes, Stitcher, Zune, Podomatic, Spreaker, all of those are out there, right? Every way you can imagine to subscribe to the podcast, it's out there. Go out there, theaverageguy.tv, and get that done. You can also find the YouTube channel, theaverageguy.tv/YouTube, or the Facebook group, which has been a little slow in the last week or so. You guys have, everybody's kind of coming back from vacations. Theaverageguy.tv/Facebook. And we'll do it all again next Thursday. I have no idea what we're going to do next Thursday, guys. I think maybe I might have Zadler on and talk on that Windows to Go, but we'll crank it out at least through the end of August. I think we'll be old school for the rest of August. We'll get Christian in college, get him all fired up, find out what's going on there. We'll get Andrew, hopefully, where he doesn't have a ton of support calls on Friday. On Fridays. How's that, Andrew?
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
All right, sounds good. We don't forget to visit JPEG2Rod at jpeg2rod.com. Mike's fired things back up over there. Yep. And don't forget about the September meetup. Mike Howard and I will be there. We're trying to talk Christian into coming out, but I don't think a freshman in college is going to be able to get away for a long weekend to get that done.
See, I don't know. I mean, if I had a sponsorship from a company like you did, I mean,
or some scholarship money.
Here it starts.
Might be easier to
wow,
work
really?
something out.
Maybe the AverageGuy.tv or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was thinking about your time, not the money.
Well, time is money, but I mean, we could.
What he's saying is you got to pay him, not the travel expenses.
Hey, why don't you?
Oh, I'd be happy with travel expenses. I mean, I would be willing to contribute my time as like the shared money pool.
Yeah.
You know, we're doing this together.
Check with bios-mods.com. They might sponsor you.
I'd highly doubt that.
How about Maple Grove Partners?
Yeah, I highly doubt that too.
Come on, Gary. Send your son out there. I wonder if he's still listening.
What could be really interesting is if I don't know. I've heard of this company called Gallup before, and I heard they do sponsorships now and then.
Not those kind. Not for that kind of thing. No, that wouldn't happen. Sorry. That's a good try though. Way to go for deep pockets. I like that. Maybe IBM would sponsor you.
Maybe or
do a session on big data.
I'm glad you didn't use the two-letter computer company acronym. Because the answer would be the same as all of the above.
I didn't want to risk Christian going off, so
I might be able to buy you breakfast on Sunday.
Oh,
that's about the best I can do.
Okay.
I tell you what, I'll cover your conference.
Would that be at Waffle House, Mike?
That would be.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, we have a Sunday morning Waffle House extravaganza planned for sure out at the meetup. It's going to be dynamite. I can't wait.
I'm starting to think I may need to get some numbers on how many's coming and give them a heads up.
You might want to. Sunday morning's pretty busy at Waffle House, right?
It is. We may want to go a little bit later than like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I don't know. You got a bunch of old guys there, so if we're not having breakfast by 7:30, it might be bad.
Maybe I could get a free trip to the conference on the Waffle Express.
Well, the Waffle Express is my truck. That's driving there.
And it's not necessarily going that direction.
Yeah, I mean, slightly out of my way.
Now it's too bad Rich isn't driving. Rich could have swung by and pick you up on the way in. But that's a long drive for Rich. Not quite as long for you, but 9 hours for you, Christian. 10 for me. But I'm halfway there. The weekend before, I'll be in Iowa City. And so if you're in the Iowa City area and you want to do a quick meetup the weekend before, so that'd be the 20th, that Friday, the 20th, well, probably Thursday night, the 19th. And I will be back in Ames on Tuesday, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, somewhere in there. The Tuesday after, I'll be back in Ames. So if you're in those areas at all, I know Jim Clark and some of those guys are in that area. Let me know if we can get an extra meetup on the side. That would be great as well, and get together for beer or whatever, dinner. It's always great to meet up with you guys, and I appreciate you listening. We do this every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out at theaverageguy.tv. Don't forget, if you've been listening to this show and you like it, we do a quick financial tech podcast as well. 15 minutes, Andrew and I. Andrew's a CFP over at Guide Rock Capital and Gallup. And a nice little 15-minute financial podcast. Won't take much of your time. Andrew's one of the smartest 28-year-olds that I know. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah, so. And by the way, that's not me, Andrew, because I'm one of the dumbest 40-year-olds that Jim knows.
Yes, you are Andrew Morris. He is Andrew Hunt. And one time we were doing a podcast, and I called you Andrew instead of calling him. And you answered. That was the great thing. You're like, hey, what's up? And I'm like, oh, crap, I called the wrong answer. So we're live every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out at theaverageguy.tv live. Stay around for the post show. Remember, you can't get the post show unless you come to the live show. We'll do it all again next Thursday. Good night, everybody.
Have a good one.
Good night.